10 video games that were banned. Number 1 is Rapeplay. Oh my god! Rapeplay was released on April 21st, 2006 for PC and was created by Japanese game developers Illusionsoft. The main goal of the game is to stalk and engage in forced sexual encounters with a mother and her 2 daughters, with a variety of options and locations at the player's disposal. Oh, this one's just full of all kinds of cringe. Shockingly, the game has been banned in many countries, including Argentina, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Australia, just to name some, and basically just because it's a gross and distasteful gameplay premise. Illusionsoft has obviously since then removed all trace of the game from their website and has completely ended distribution, while Japan has since banned, obviously, all rape games. You know, the Japanese culture is into some really bizarre, weird stuff, so if this game is too much for them, you know it's bad. Number 2 is Wolfenstein 3D. Originally released May 5th of 1992 for PC, Wolfenstein 3D was actually banned in Germany for its inclusion of the Nazi army as the game's main enemies. That, alongside the Nazi Party's anthem as the game's musical theme, and a cyborg version of Adolf Hitler as the final boss. 9. A Super Nintendo version of this game was released in 1994, but was drastically edited to remove any themes, visuals, or references of the Nazi Party, including removing Hitler's little mustache and renaming the boss character to Statmeister. I see the insensitivity in all of this because, you know, Germany and the Nazi, I get it, but you're fighting Hitler. It's not like you're fighting Gandhi. Hitler was a bad guy. Let's take out the digital version of him, why not? Number 3 is Manhunt 2. Manhunt 2 was released on October 29th, 2007 for the PS2, PSP, and Wii, and was banned in several countries, including South Korea, New Zealand, Malaysia, and Germany for its over-the-top gory murders. The game allows players to kill enemies using a variety of gruesome weapons or objects, leading to a very, very graphic, gory, and horrific death. Like, really over the top. Many countries didn't like the idea of teaching young kids how to kill someone with a plastic bag, or razor wire, or a sledgehammer, or a shotgun, or hedge trimmers, just to name a few, so they banned it. What, you don't want Timmy running around the house with a pair of scissors being like, "Mama, I'ma cut your jugular, come here!" Number 4 is the Pokemon trading card game. Wait, Pokemon? Yeah, I know. Released for the Game Boy Color on April 10th, 2000, the Pokemon trading card game was immediately banned in Saudi Arabia by top religious authorities. They stated that the game resembles a game of gambling. They went on to say that certain cards carried religious symbolism, such as the Star of David, which he thought connected to international Zionism and Israel's national emblem. That, along with cards that depicted the cross for Christians and triangles for the Freemasons, just was a no-no there. Yo, Saudi Arabia, you need to chill, man. Take a little chill pill. It is a trading card game. It's not gonna burn your house down. It's not gonna bring the apocalypse. It's gonna bring Charizard and Squirtle! Number 5 is Homefront. Released on March 15th, 2011 for the Xbox 360, PS3, and PC, Homefront depicts the United States under forced occupation from Kim Jong-il and a highly advanced version of the North Korean military forces. The game, for fairly obvious reasons, immediately was banned from South Korea, mostly because of the strained relationship between North and South Korea. In North America, however, we are more tolerant of these things because, you know, it's just a game, bruh. But to this day, games involving actions against the North are immediately banned in the South, since North Korea tends to, you know, kind of overreact to issues just a little bit. Well, we all saw what happened after the movie The Interview, so I wouldn't be surprised if a video game made him just lose his mind. They made a video game? Nuke them now! Number 6 is Fallout 3. Released on October 28th, 2008 for the PC, PS3, and Xbox 360, Fallout 3 is set in a post-nuclear war apocalypse version of Washington, D.C. The game includes a significant side mission in which a player must decide to either disarm or detonate a live atomic bomb which sits in the middle of a small community of settlers. There's a mini nuke launcher weapon named the Fat Man in the game, which was was the name of the nuke that blew up Nagasaki in World War II. For this reason, this caused the original game to be banned in Japan, and only an edited version was allowed to be sold there. The game was also banned in India due to the inclusion of mutated two-headed cows called Brahmins, similar to the cow breed in India called Brahman, which are held in deep respect by Hindus. See, I don't get that. What's wrong with having two heads? Yeah, I don't see what's wrong with that. That's weird. Number 7 is Football Manager 2005. Football Manager 2005, despite its terrible name, was released on November 4th, 2004 for the PC and is a game all about managing a soccer team in a mostly text and number-based interface without any real ability to play as the team. Pretty simple game, except that it was banned in China because it included Tibet and Taiwan as independent countries and not a part of China. However, in a twist, the ban caused the game to be heavily pirated in China and become popular in the underground market. A Chinese version of the game was ultimately released with country edits. What? China's censoring stuff? What? Since when? No, it doesn't ever happen. Number 8 is Mass Effect. Mass Effect was released on November 20th, 2007 for the Xbox 360 and was promptly banned in Singapore due to the ability to engage in sexual activities with the same gender and with an alien. Whoa, what do you got against alien sex, man? Don't knock it till you try it. The player's character can choose to play as either gender, and during the story, encounters an alien female named Liara. As the story progresses, the player can then romance Liara. Ultimately, Singapore decided to lift the ban by labeling the box with an 18 or older rating, but the game and its sequels are still currently banned in the United Arab Emirates. If all of that surprises you, keep in mind Singapore is the same country that has a $1,000 fine if you walk around your own home naked. So yeah, they're a little conservative. Number 9 is Mortal Kombat. The modern reboot of the classic 1992 fighting game Mortal Kombat was released on April 19th, 2011 for the Xbox 360 and PS3. As the 9th game in the series, the game stays true to its gory roots, but adds to the brutal violence with greatly improved graphics and new features. New features? Like what, Matt? Oh, you know, new features like extra gruesome fatal finishing moves, which sees fighters being dismembered, dissolved, bashed, impaled, and even sawn in half from the groin up. The excessive violence got the game banned in Australia, Germany, and South Korea. All of these finishing moves are on YouTube. Look it up at your own discretion. And number 10 is Postal 2. Released on April 13th, 2003, Postal 2 gives the player a variety of lethal weapons in a small American trailer park town filled with innocent civilians and includes extremely gory effects, as well as the ability to pee on the deceased and living characters. So, in 2004, the game was banned in New Zealand, and anyone caught purchasing or in possession of the game faced charges of up to 10 years in prison or $50,000 in fines. The developers Running with Scissors, which is just such an appropriate name, tried to get around the extreme controversy by stating that the story could be completed without violence, but failed to mention that it is quite difficult to do so. See, I don't agree that video games influence kids like that. I mean, there's a lot of young kids that watch me, and you don't see a bunch of short, bald, bearded kids running around, do you? Number 10 is the Battlefield 3 neck glitch. During the multiplayer open beta for DICE's military first-person shooter Battlefield 3, a bug caused characters' bodies to stretch out in unbelievably creepy ways. The free beta occurred between September 29th and October 10th, 2011, and was a way for the developer to test their servers and discover any leftover game bugs. However, how they missed this one is beyond me because it was pretty common. When a player went flat on their stomach to crawl, their entire upper body would morph and stretch forwards and upwards while their arms remained restrained behind their backs. Think of it as like extreme yoga. The gun they were holding would float in between their legs, pointing skyward. It was often called the neck glitch due to the characters' necks being stretched the longest, while their heads remained normal. The bug was fixed for the game's retail release, but remained a favorite for ostriches everywhere. Number 9 is the Skyrim Louis Latrush glitch. Released on November 11th, 2011 for PC, Xbox 360, and PS3, Skyrim's open-world RPG adventure was riddled with tons of entertaining glitches, especially with an NPC named Louis Latruche. Upon meeting Latruche, he gives you a quest to steal a horse for him from the son of a powerful woman in the city of Riften. If you successfully complete the delivery, Louis will depart on his new steed, and soon the glitch fun will begin. When fast traveling to the city of Whiterun, he can often be found stuck halfway in the ground, falling through or disappearing shortly after. In other cases, he will seem to clone himself into multiple Latruches that stand around the original. And in one recorded instance, he is found running atop his horse before helicopter spinning into a fight with a bear. This guy's talented. Number 8 is the Grand Theft Auto 4 swing set glitch. In Grand Theft Auto 4, released on April 29, 2008 for the Xbox 360 and PS3, you're given complete freedom to roam the streets of Liberty City. In the Firefly projects, located in the southeast section of the city, there's a small park which contains a couple of swing sets in disrepair. But here's where the fun begins, because if you drive your car up into the park and prop your front or back bumper gently onto the middle pole of the swing's frame, the game's physics engine will allow the weight of the car to displace it slightly. But see, here's the thing, since the swing's frame isn't supposed to move, it will reset to its original position, and if your car is in the way, it will be moved forcefully. If you position it correctly, your car will fly straight past the playground equipment and do cartwheels over the surrounding apartment buildings. If that sounds violent and chaotic to you, then you definitely haven't played this game, because that's quite mild compared to what you can do. Number 7 is The Sims 3 Demon Baby glitch. The Sims 3 was released on June 2nd, 2009 for PC, and opened the realm of possibility to gamers wanting to control the daily lives of customizable characters. Within the game, the Sims can sometimes procreate and birth a glitchy, demonic-looking infant Sim. Mother, father, what am I? Not only can this needy child take over your Sim's daily schedule, as real infants often do, but you may find yourself grimacing at the sight of this stretched out, wavy and jagged thing that you're raising. It's almost as if the game's programming is mistaking the baby's body for an adult body and has replaced it with a model a little too big to fit into the constraints of the little tyke's animations. The parent Sims in the game appear to be completely unfazed by the monster movie type creature in their midst, but this glitch actually has some players looking into the process of some sort of Sim adoption to get rid of this little demon. Okay, make sure he's in bed by 6, make sure he gets plenty of milk before he goes to bed, and give him some human faces to eat. Okay, bye! Number 6 is NBA 2K15 My Player Face Scan glitch. When NBA 2K15 came out on October 7th, 2014, 2K Games introduced the ability to use an external camera to scan your face and place it on your customized character. Sounds great. Well, at least it sounds great in theory, but in reality, things were severely lacking on the technical side of the execution. To get a good quality scan, you had to have lots of natural lighting, and you had to keep your face perfectly still inside a green box shown on the screen. Any slight movement could throw the whole process off, and even if you did manage to pull off a decent scan, the results often ended up looking like something out of Frankenstein's monster or worse. The entire geometry of your face could shift, or the captured image could become displaced on the character model. As you could imagine, the feature caused many players frustration, while others embraced their freakish avatars. Okay, who's ready to play basketball? Number 5 is Heavy Rain Sean glitch. Heavy Rain is a story game experience that feels a lot like watching a movie that you can control. Released on February 23rd, 2010 by Quantic Dream for the PS3, Heavy Rain follows several characters, including Ethan Mars, whose son Sean is kidnapped by the origami killer. Near the end, Ethan calls desperately for Sean. If Ethan is in the middle of saying something when you find the boy, the cutscene animation begins, but you maintain the ability to press X and carry on hollering, "Sean!" In the tense emotional scenes that follow, hearing Sean yelled at inappropriate times at an inappropriate volume can certainly break the immersion and some of the surprise reveals. But it makes up for it in just how absurd this glitch is in a game without any real technical hiccups prior to the end. Sean! 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 Number 4 is Pokemon Red and Blue Missing No glitch. Missing No is the name of a famous glitch in the Nintendo Game Boy games Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue, released on February 27th, 1996. After following a precise set of steps and surfing on the ledge, where the land meets the water on the eastern side of Cinnabar Island, the player can encounter Missing No. This thing is literally the game's attempt at throwing something out there for you to battle because it actually has no idea which Pokemon should be there. Now, it can appear as a number of things, but it's most famously recognized as an unidentifiable glitchy mess, and the best part is that you can catch it. If you do manage to run into the embodiment of programming terror, it will multiply the 6th item in your inventory, which could be extremely handy for getting lots of the game's rarest and most useful items. I choose you, Missing No! What am I supposed to be? Number 3 is EA UFC 2 character model glitch. EA Canada wanted not only a realistic looking game in UFC 2, but a realistic feeling with new physics-based damage engines. That is some next level stuff, except that with them came new, unpredictable physics-based glitches. Released on March 15th, 2016 for the PS4 and Xbox One, UFC 2 looked so real that any encounters with ridiculous errors in character animations or body physics kinda made it look like your pay-per-view fight night entered an alternate dimension. A few things that can happen are that fighters can fail grapples but have their bodies locked in place while their arms are bent backwards. In addition, they can also freeze on the ground, allowing their opponent to casually punch and step all over them. And then of course there's the ability to fail at obeying gravity and flip around in the air when hit. Oh yeah, really trying to fight you here? These glitches seemingly strike at random, and while they may ruin a good fight, they sure do make for good replay material. Number 2 is Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag Ascension of the Jackdaw glitch. On October 29th, 2013, Assassin's Creed 4 hit the Xbox 360, PS3, and Wii U, and it breathed new life into the franchise. But while some players were sailing smoothly to the game's various locations, an awe-inspiring glitch happened to pop up. Upon arriving back to the ship, the Jackdaw, at the docks, some players had found it was missing, and in its place, a giant hole in the ocean. As if Moses had parted the sea directly under where the ship had been, the Jackdaw and any water it was floating on had gone and left a gaping hole. While waiting for the ship to re-emerge, the ship's crew will begin to appear one by one, floating in the empty space, and other NPCs in the distance will start floating into the sky as if it's the Rapture. This what the heck moment is soon followed by a slow, rising reappearance of the Jackdaw. And number 1 is Red Dead Redemption Manimals glitch. In Red Dead Redemption, released on May 18th, 2010, life in the open world is fraught with fighting wildlife that can sometimes outmatch your gunslinger character. But things can get real bizarre when the game assets for those animals get mixed up and replaced by contorted human models, turning the already dangerous carnivores into frighteningly deformed monsters. Am I a pig or a boy? Pig or a boy? I don't know, I'm gonna eat you though. When this glitch strikes, you'll be attacked by bulging-eyed shopkeepers running around on their knees, or you might see some guys in the distance soaring through the sky flapping their arms like a bird. This error has also been known to turn mules into donkey-faced women that can be ridden with superhuman speed. You might even run into a floating rifle-wielding coyote who can help you overthrow the enemy's stronghold. This gives a whole new meaning to the Wild West, know what I'm saying? nightmares. Number 1 is the Cannibal Cafe. Okay, let's see here. Man, seeking woman, low body fat, please bring own fork and bib. Oh, what? Though it's been shut down multiple times, the Cannibal Cafe can still be found in multiple forms across the web. This site is all about one thing, providing forums to people who actually want to be eaten to connect with real cannibals who are highly interested in eating them. These incredibly short but intimate, hookups are not the only creepy thing happening at the Cannibal Cafe. You can also find stories on how to make people taste delicious, recipes for cooking basically every body part, and even what wine pairs best with your insides. So if you ever want to know which body part tastes the best, you know where to look. Number 2 is Best Gore. Those who visit this site are recommended to not have eaten anytime recently. That's because when you visit bestgore.com, you're staring at the worst, and I do mean the goriest stuff you have ever seen. The entire site is one big database of images and videos of gruesome deaths, suicides, brutal murders, graphic executions. Literally nothing is too disgusting for this site. In fact, the images are so graphic, I literally can't show you anything. So here's a picture of a unicorn. From decapitations to human shish kebabs, this is the stuff of nightmares. I cannot recommend strongly enough that you avoid this website. It is honestly and truly disturbing. Unless you're into that sort of thing, Clarice. Number 3 is Take This Lollipop. Talk about unsettling. Created by filmmaker Jason Zada, this interactive online experience plays out as a movie starring you. Connecting to your Facebook profile, it centers on a Facebook stalker, a skinny, crazed, middle-aged man, and follows him as he brings up your account and eventually tracks down your home using Google Maps. The film continues with the stalker driving towards what's seemingly your home, with pictures of you and your Facebook friends taped to his dashboard. Zada made this interactive adventure as a part of a PSA, hoping to show people how posting too much personal information online can have dangerous consequences. Wouldn't you like to let me watch you while you sleep? Number 4 is The Fifth Nail. Some websites let you watch videos, and some let you communicate with your family and friends. Oh, it's just so nice. And then some bring you into the twisted mind of a murderer. That's exactly what The Fifth Nail is. It's a blog written by the criminally insane fingertips and brain of Joseph E. Duncan III, who murdered multiple people before being caught on June 2nd, 2005. The blog recounts many of Duncan's actions and how he felt about them, including full confessions to sexual assaults and his history of being sexually assaulted as a child. It is a truly scary glimpse into the mind of a deranged man. Kind of like my YouTube channel. Number 5 is Joy of Satan. While there are many websites out there devoted to Satanism, demons, or of course the devil Lucifer himself, very few of them go to the depths of darkness that thejoyofsatan.org goes to. In addition to calling the King of Hell all kinds of loving names and giving him all the possible support an online forum can, Joy of Satan also offers spells such as ones to communicate with the devil, methods to give your soul over to the true father of creation, and even descriptive step-by-step instructions on how to summon a demon. Oh, and of course, if you have a couple extra dollars, they encourage you to donate for the promotion and advancement of Satanism. You know, just if you have some money laying around. Number 6 is Anna Boot Camp. Whenever you hear about a website devoted to eating disorders like anorexia or bulimia, the first thing you probably think of is a supportive site with positive, motivating, body-positive posts. Yeah, that is not the case with AnnaBootcamp.com. This website is actually despicable in pretty much every way. It preys on the doubts and self-consciousness of people and aggressively encourages them to do whatever it takes to make themselves thinner. Though pages on this website claim it's meant to reinforce healthy eating habits, the messages that it delivers makes this one of the darkest places you can possibly go online. This is especially true if you're worried about your weight. Number 7 is Death Date. Few websites are more chilling than one that literally predicts the exact moment that you're going to die. DeathDate.info is a dark, morbid site that asks you to enter your name, age, height, and weight before spitting out the estimated moment which it thinks that you're going to die. Going further with your results, Death Date also provides you with 3 words that it says are related to your death in some way. For example, freeze, accident, or suicide. I'm not doing this, but I would hope that mine would be something like sleep, drooling in a happy state, just smiles, That's not gonna happen, is it? Number 8 is world births and deaths. Part of the appeal of this website is that it brings some joy to the world by seeing how many births there are, except the same page just seems to bring a chill up the collective spine of the Earth's population. Worldbirthsanddeaths.com gives you, the viewer, live updates on every reported baby being born and every person who dies, complete with daily postings of which country saw the most death each day. Imagine when your life ends, a tiny red dot is going to appear over your home country. This one's for all the people obsessed with population fluctuations, but all I see is how much death there is in the world, and it's freaking creepy. Number 9 is white enamel. Once considered the scariest game on the internet, White Enamel is an interactive site which operates as a choose-your-own-adventure type of game in a haunted, abandoned mental asylum. It uses everything from images to eerie audio recordings to out-of-tune pianos and deranged screaming, all coupled with inserted video clips. While the creators, Restoration Ruined Pictures, claimed that it was just marketing for a fictional documentary they were making, many claimed that it was actually more of a psychological experiment, but either way, it's a very unsettling place to go online. And number 10 is Goodbye Warden. On this site is a collection of 538 things said by inmates in Texas as their final words before being executed. The list dates all the way back to 1982 and contains both apologies for the murders that the inmates committed and very convincing claims that they were completely innocent. It's hard to imagine a website creepier than one full of last words of the deceased, especially when some of those words have come from the individuals who were wrongly convicted. Number 1 are plane crash recordings. Oh, it gets weird right off the bat. Most of us have been on plane rides, and they can be a lot of fun. You get to go to a brand new location or visit family that you haven't seen in a long time, but planes don't always stay in the air, and sometimes people start a website that's dedicated to the recordings of the black boxes. Well, yes friends, disturbingly, there is a website dedicated to sharing the MP3s and transcripts of the very moments leading up to plane crashes. Now, I didn't choose to listen to very many because they're disturbing, but the events leading up to the crash, I can tell you, pretty much always involve some sort of navigational error or onboard problem, but they all end up with, you know, an abrupt cutoff. It's fun for the whole family. If you're someone that likes creepy and depressing stuff, oh, this one's for you. Now, thankfully, as new technology and procedures are incorporated into planes and air travel, the rate of fatal accidents have continued to fall, so that's a good thing. Seriously, what kind of person runs a website like this? Like, what kind of person is out there saying, oh, there was a plane crash today? Better update the website. Number 2 is staggering beauty. Oh, this one's the stuff of nightmares. We now live in a world where there are all kinds of video games and all kinds of genres. There are fun games like Super Mario, there's other games that are a little harder like Dark Souls, and then there are other ones that are part artwork, part seizure-inducing nightmare. Well friends, Staggering Beauty is a website that contains nothing but a black worm with white eyes. As you move your mouse around gently, the worm's head follows in silence, but the longer that you do it, the screen suddenly flashes with crazy colors and blaring music. It's one of those really bizarre websites that you could really never stumble upon yourself. It would have to be sent to you by some sick friend. If you do choose to visit this website, I highly recommend you do so with caution, especially if you have epilepsy, because, you know, you go and end up like I have to be honest though, as really bizarre as this website is, the animations are quite good, which leads me to believe that it took some time to develop. So my only question to the developer of this website is, why? There's so many things that you could have spent your time on. Why this? Ooh. Number 3 is the Bong Chong Dong Ghost. Well, that's fun to say. Thanks to the beautiful invention of the internet, comic artists and writers now have the opportunity to post their webcomics directly online for your consumption. But that means that anyone can post online, and because of that, some people decided to make a weird internet screaming Bong Chong Dong Ghost, which is a Korean webcomic about a ghost woman in pink pajamas asking where her baby is. It's as weird as it sounds. The idea is generally simple, with the story unfolding vertically, but the comic has a few automatic scroll triggers. Once you hit a certain page in the comic, it starts to auto-scroll through a series of images, kind of like a creepy flip book. The 2 triggers are at a point when the ghost turns its head, and later when it lunges towards you. And yes, their sound. As creepy of an effect as it is, if you like jump scary stuff, you're gonna love this website. The comic sort of gives your computer the feel that it's haunted, so I suggest you proceed with caution, especially if you're watching it at night. You should probably wear a diaper, because you're gonna poop yourself. Number 4 is Rate My Poo. Speaking of poopy, look, I'm gonna be real with you guys. Every single person watching this video right now at some point in their lives has taken such a big poop that they took a moment to just marvel at their backside masterpiece. Now, of course, from time to time, we all do that secretly, and we rarely talk about it out in the open because, let's be honest, we don't want people to know about our feces fascination. But somebody out there had the genius idea to say, hey, I wonder if there's someone else out there that enjoys looking at poop, and they created a website dedicated to, well, posting the best poops. It allows their users to rate their corn-filled toilet floaters out of 10. And yes, the website even allows their users to highlight the very best specimens for a completely separate list of the very best pieces of booty mud. Unfortunately, the website has not yet evolved to the point where you can click on a piece of poo and find out the amount of time, effort, and food required to, you know, create that beautiful food baby. But hey, one day, here's hoping. Number 5 is Zombocom. You know, waiting in line is horrible. Ain't nobody got time for that. No one likes to do it. Unless you're a frequent visitor of Zombocom, in which case you probably enjoy the virtual experience of waiting in a line while you sit through a loading screen. Yeah, that's the website. Well, Zombocom is nothing but a loading screen. Actually, it's more of a parody of other websites that contain long loading screens. Yeah, that's it. That's the website. It's literally just a loading icon. And what really makes the website creepy is that when you first go to it, you're welcomed by a weird voice that says, "Welcome to Zombocom." Some people got way too much time on their hands. There's just something really unsettling and ominous about the whole thing. The carnival music that accompanies the positive sounding monotone speech is really something to experience. I think the best way to convey the creepiness to you is to say that the website feels like an online equivalent of a clown. Overwhelmingly positive and yet completely devoid of anything more, just endless smiles. If you have a lot of spare time, feel free to check this out at your leisure because it's a good time killer. Also, get a life. Number 6 is Opentopia. You know, we live in an age now where people are hypersensitive about the idea of the government spying on us through surveillance cameras, but there's a website that allows you to do just that. Opentopia provides free live webcams from around the world. Now, unlike other cam websites that focus on, you know, nice ladies making with the naked, this website mainly shows off what looks like security camera footage. All around the world, from Florida to Belgium, cameras can be monitoring birds, hotels, universities, and even bars. Now, the cameras aren't live video feeds because that would be too much strain on the website, so what they are is a series of images that can be updated by the minute. But no matter what the functionality, this website is damn creepy. I mean, why would you ever want to watch somebody doing something potentially embarrassing? It's just weird. Next, number 7 is Memory Of. Oh god, this one's disturbing. You know, losing a child is something unimaginable, and it's something that most parents wouldn't want to share. I said most parents, because Memory Of is a website dedicated to children that have died as a stillborn, and it labels itself as an online center for healing. The website contains condolences, photo albums, and memorial candles. It's equal parts tragic and creepy, especially the photo album. That's a little bit more on the creepy side. You know, the healing aspect of it, I get that. I think it's a great thing, but taking pictures of stillborn babies is really gross. In fact, it kind of makes me nauseous because the idea of death and the kind of it's gross. Number 8 is 9. This website, the full website is 973-eht-nama-973.com, but since it contains repeated use of the number 9, we'll just go with that. The website is extremely simple. Actually, probably a little too simple. It's just a black background with an orange and red text with the occasional photo as you toggle through the pages. That's it. It contains what most experts would call psychopath nonsense. Phrases like "I am that I am" and "blessed be that name" pop up throughout the pages in a style that can only be described as whack 'em. For whatever reason, this website does in fact exist, and it's the perfect mixture of bizarre and unsettling in a weird little concoction of Of course, the guy who created the website chose not to list his contact information, but if I had to guess his email, it's probably something like dumdumtoday@. Number 9 is Creepypasta. If you're a 90s kid, you probably recall the show Are You Afraid of the Dark, which consisted of a series of horror stories told by kids around a campfire. It was classic. Well, this website lists the weirdest creepypastas that you could possibly imagine, which is kind of like a digital version of a campfire horror story. The website is simple and effective at presenting modern urban legends that people would message each other about online, except it's all gathered in one freaky place. Now, Creepypasta is of course one of the many websites that are out there that allow users to post and rate creepy stories online, but because this is the website that helped bring Slenderman into our lives, I'm gonna give it the creepy seal of approval. You know, a lot of people say that if you spend any extended amount of time on this website reading through all the stories, you'll never be the same again. But I don't agree with that because I made a creepypasta video and I'm normal as ever. See? Normal. And number 10, the deep web. Now, unlike the other topics on this list, the deep web isn't a single website, but instead a collection of websites that are not easily accessed. And that's a good thing. You see, the deep web is far creepier than anything that you could normally find through a search engine like Google. The deep web essentially comprises all of the websites that are not indexed by your traditional search engines. But Matt, what are some examples? Well, since you ask, one website is dedicated to an organization that gave detailed information about experiments done on live humans. There's another website that's dedicated to fan fiction focused on pedophilia. And those are the only examples I could give you because frankly, I was getting scared by doing this research. Now, I know that some of you are going to visit all of the websites that I mentioned in this video, which can be found in the description below. But for those of you that are like, oh, I'm gonna go into the deep web, I wanna find what's in there. Don't do it, because you can't recover from some things, and you will have an aneurysm. Or poop your pants, one of the two. Number 10 are Mafia 2's demons. There have been a lot of Grand Theft Auto clones throughout the years, but 2K Games' Mafia 2 is one of the best. Despite this, it still has a bizarre glitch. Released in 2010, Mafia 2 follows the criminal escapades of Vita Scaletta, a war veteran who has to pay off his father's debts by working for the Mafia. In the game, you meet many NPCs, but if you played this game on some systems at release, including a MacBook, one of those NPCs turns into a demonic creature. When Vito is speaking with his mother in a cutscene, suddenly his dear sweet mama's skin sheds off, revealing a burned, rotten appearance. Seriously, she looks like Leatherface on a very bad day. Not only that, but her ears are missing and her eyes are like two black holes about to suck you into the underworld. No hugs for you today, mama. No. Number 9 is Mass Effect's Chicken Dance. While the fourth game in the Mass Effect series was widely mocked for less than flattering facial animations, it's the original game which contains one of the series' stranger bugs. The first game was released in 2007 and focuses on Commander Shepard's galaxy-wide quest to stop a tyrant and his sentient robots from conquering all before him. You'd think this would gain Shepard some respect, but one glitch just outright mocks him no matter what he does. Whenever the commander turns his back on his companion, Kaidan Alenko, Kaidan breaks out that most cutting of insults, the chicken dance. He flails around behind Shepard's back, but whenever Shepard faces his companion, the joke stops. Proof positive that AI is preparing to subvert humanity. First they did the funky chicken, then they ruled the world. Number 8 is San Andreas' underwater photographer. San Andreas, one of the great games from the PS2 era. But despite its carnage-filled citywide gameplay, the sprawling urban landscape has some unsettling glitches. Just like the other entries in the Grand Theft Auto series, the game has a lot of creepy bugs attached to it. One of those bugs arises when a photographer spawns next to a river. At first, everything seems normal. The photographer is just going about her day, taking some pictures of a scenic view. Once she finishes capturing capturing the moment, she then casually walks off, but not back into the city. No, this photographer walks straight into the water and disappears beneath the surface. If you leave and come back, another photographer appears and does the exact same. Maybe there's a secret convention for underwater photographers down there? Number 7 is Crisis Land Sharks. When Crisis was released in 2007, it became the gold standard in first-person shooter graphics. The technology was so advanced that even most gaming rigs couldn't run it on its highest detail settings. Despite this technology, however, the game had some hilarious bugs on release, and one of them in particular was the stuff of nightmares. At one point in the game, the protagonist can stand on a beach and shoot at a number of huge great white sharks in the water. Normally you'd think you'd be safe in a situation like this, but not in Crisis. Instead, a bug sometimes allowed the sharks to come out of the water and attack the player on land. My greatest nightmare. These monstrous creatures from the depths can now fly through the air, baring their teeth as they rain down on everyone in sight. Note to self, do not go near the sea. Number 6 is Gears of War Irish Jig. Gears of War is a gritty post-apocalyptic third-person shooter following the deadly struggle between the last remnants of humanity and a species of reptilian hominoids known as the Locust Horde. The creatures rise up from their habitat deep beneath the earth and decimate everything in their path. For that reason, humor is hard to come by in such a grim setting. However, one bug does bring with it some levity. One of your NPC comrades, Kim, is best at shooting anything that moves, but in one instance she's a pretty good dancer. Sometimes his character model will judder around. The animation looks suspiciously like some sort of Irish jig. Unless this is some secret maneuver to defeat the Locust Horde through the medium of dance, I reckon that this is a glitch. Number 5 is DayZ Soulless People. DayZ was extremely popular when it was first launched in 2012 as a mod for the game Arma 2. Eventually, it became its own game, and while its release was not without controversy due to glitches and development speed, it still has a loyal player base. DayZ drops you into a massive player map where zombies walk the land, and you have to fight for survival against other players while avoiding becoming a meal for the undead. In one of its more unsettling glitches, some versions of DayZ created soulless players. If a player exited the game suddenly, they would sometimes leave their playable character model in the game world. This character would be invulnerable to damage, but would often spray blood on surrounding players and environments. It's good to share, I guess. Number 4 are FIFA Giants. FIFA regularly competes with Pro Evolution Soccer for the title of Best Soccer Video Game. Each year, both franchises release updated versions, complete with incremental features and player rosters. However, FIFA has one little trick up its sleeve to leave the competition dead and buried: giant goalkeepers. In some iterations of the game, a bug will supersize the goalkeepers, who then tower over everyone else. You might think this would give you an advantage, but unfortunately, this also produces bizarre physics effects, including turning the player into, jello. Blah, stopping the soccer balls with the jello arms, blah, blah, blah. In some instances, the goalkeeper is missing arms and even its entire upper body. Other FIFA player bugs also produce outfield players with legs bent in excruciating angles. Number 3 is Rocky's Bizarro World. Who doesn't love Rocky? The inspiring tale of the Italian stallion rising up from poverty to become the greatest fictional heavyweight of all time is amazing. I'm tearing up just thinking about it. But you might tear up if you ever played Rocky the game on PS2. As pointed out by the Angry Video Game Nerd, this game has some of the strangest glitches ever seen. Like something out of an H.P. Lovecraft story, the game randomly renders boxers with missing jaws, inverted skulls, strange appendages, and facial features that look more like a Jackson Pollock painting than Homo sapien. Rocky himself isn't immune to these effects, and when he goes into lidless death stare mode, it's difficult not to scream, kill it with fire, and then run in the other direction. Number 2 is Fallout 4's Smooth Criminal. As with any Bethesda release, Fallout 4 was met with critical acclaim and an army of fans eagerly waiting to jump into its post-nuclear world. But just like other huge open-world games like Skyrim and others, unintended bugs and glitches were continually encountered by players. One of the funniest has to be what happens to an NPC known as Nick Valentine. At one point in the game, this character decides he's the world's biggest Michael Jackson fan and begins to tilt his entire body like MJ did in the Smooth Criminal video. But Valentine isn't a Fairweather Jackson fan, oh no. This glitch then makes him walk around tilted, pulling off moves that even the king of pop would be jealous of. If I could walk around on my back like that, I'd just take a nap wherever I went. Multitasking, y'all. And number 1 is Surgeon Simulator's Nightmare. Surgeon Simulator has appeared on many platforms and allows the player to carry out a number of complex operations. Needless to say, this often ends badly, which is probably part of its twisted charm. But in possibly the most gruesome glitch I've ever seen, during some of the operations, the patient begins crying tears of blood. Then his neck extends like a scene out of The Thing, and his head tries to leap off of the operating table. No matter what the player does after this, the patient's newfound skill as a rubber band takes over and his eyelids phase in and out of existence, and his head warps around the screen. Medical equipment surrounds the poor patient, but I don't think any form of medical intervention is going to cure that. Number 10 is Alta Vista. Before Google became everyone's go-to search engine, Alta Vista was extremely popular. Launched in 1995, Alta Vista allowed web users to find content quickly and reliably. It had a whole index of websites and, well, you know what a search engine is. But what put Alta Vista ahead of other search engines was that it had an advanced web crawler. Not like Spider-Man, it's a techie term. Stay with me, people! A web crawler is a bot which trawls the internet looking for websites so that when users Google Alta Vista, a search term, the information about those websites is ready at hand. In 2003, however, Alta Vista started to wane and Google's domination was assured, which is really good because no one would ever say, oh, I just Alta Vista'd that. Yahoo purchased Alta Vista but threw out the old web search engine and just used their own, keeping the brand. And as you can imagine, since it's on this list, that wasn't exactly successful, and in 2013, Alta Vista was shut down for good. Number 9 is Friends Reunited. Back in 1999, the idea of an online social network was revolutionary. But long before titans like Twitter and Facebook came along, a little UK-based website tried out that concept. It was called Friends Reunited, and it allowed users to join networks based on what school they attended. This scratched the little nostalgic itch for those wanting to see what their old buddies were up to. While a previous US website called Classmate.com had ran a similar service, Friends Reunited took it to a whole nother level. Within just a couple years, they had nearly 3 million users. In 2005, the company was bought for $208 million. Who spent that money on this piece of crap? But between 2007 and 2008, it lost 47% of its user base. Coincidentally, that was the same time that Facebook had grown its UK-based traffic by almost 2,400%. To be honest, I don't really blame them for not seeing Facebook as a threat because it's called Facebook. That's like being afraid of a company called Leg Hat. Number 8 is Yahoo Auctions. Yahoo Auctions was set up 3 years after eBay in 1998 to challenge the king of auction sites. And just like eBay, Yahoo Auctions allowed users to list items that they wanted to sell. At that time, Yahoo was a company in ascendancy and one of the biggest names online. But eBay already had a head start, and it also provided a more reliable and safe way to buy items due to its rating system. But Yahoo shut down most of the service in America and other countries by 2007. 2007. But believe it or not, users were actually really disappointed because the website had offered no fee listings, very much unlike eBay at the time. But it gets even weirder because in a bizarre move, when Yahoo Auctions shut down its UK and Ireland service, it actually endorsed its main rival. Yahoo stated that eBay was its preferred service and that users looking for something similar to Yahoo Auctions should actually use it. Sounds like a payoff. Oh, but that's none of my business. Number 7 is Nupedia. Nupedia was an online encyclopedia which allowed users to search a variety of topics. How to restore hair. Lasting just 4 short years between 1999 and 2003, Nupedia had a strict peer review process unlike Wikipedia. Volunteer contributors would write articles on the chosen topics, but they wouldn't go live immediately. They would have to be reviewed by a panel of experts first. The idea was that this would ensure a level of quality similar to published journals. Unfortunately, only 21 articles ever passed the peer review process in the first year. Now let's compare that to Wikipedia, who published 10 times that number in its first month alone. So yeah, you can see why it became popular and Nupedia didn't. Still, it did pave the way for Wikipedia, so let's all raise a glass to the memory of Nupedia. Unless you have an alcohol problem, in which case that would be a bad idea. Number 6 is VidMe. YouTube popularized video sharing, and though several websites have tried to emulate its success, most have failed. Well, VidMe was one of those most recent attempts to do this. As YouTube reduced creators' ability to make money from ads due to the unbelievable number of controversies on the site, VidMe, founded in 2014, stepped in and offered creators another avenue to make money from their videos. This created an influx of content, but unfortunately, the website was shut down on December 1st, 2017. This was because the cost of hosting millions of user-generated videos could not be paid for through their advertising or subscription model. But despite closing down, VidMe was widely praised for at least trying to provide another video hosting platform, and video creators continued to look for other ways to expand their revenue. Unlike me, everything's just fine. Ad revenue's fine. I'm not worried at all. Number 5 is Bebo. Bebo was launched in 2005 and was a tremendously successful social media platform for a number of years. The website was popular in several regions and registered over 10 million users in the UK alone. As its popularity soared, Bebo attracted big-name companies and was bought for $850 million in 2008. What separated Bebo from its competition was that its social media profiles were completely modular and customizable. Unlike pretty much every social media site today, Bebo profiles could look completely unique. Unfortunately, the juggernaut that is Facebook, which killed off a number of websites on this list, took Bebo to the ground for the 3 count. But the brand has actually continued, and its founders have tried to relaunch the brand multiple times. Don't worry, little Bebo, you'll get there one day, little buddy. Number 4 is Delicious. Like many of the websites on this list, Delicious was innovative and forward-thinking, but just couldn't stay ahead of the pack forever. Much like StumbleUpon and Pinboard, which came along after it, Delicious popularized the idea of social bookmarking. This allowed users to tag and organize online content in a fun and accessible way. When it was released in 2007, Delicious took off in a big way. But with the advent of cloud storage and people being able to save their bookmarks across devices and their browsers, Delicious became kind of pointless. It ended up being acquired in 2017 by the competitor Pinboard, which discontinued the service once and for all so that it could promote its own website to the Delicious user base. Delicious user base. That should have been our tagline. Our users are delicious! Number 3 is GeoCities. Launched in 1994 and originally called Beverly Hills Internet, GeoCities became the 3rd most popular website in the world in '99. It allowed users to create their own website, which GeoCities would host, and place in a browsable directory of a relevant topic. BigBootyGoats.com, oh yeah, let's do it. For example, if you made a website about the entertainment industry, it would be placed in the Hollywood city, allowing people interested in your chosen topic to find your content. Well, times change, change, and a number of competing websites devised more accessible and professional ways to build a website. GeoCities finally shut down the United States server in October of 2009. And with that, believe it or not, 38 million user-built websites disappeared. Rest in peace, big booty goats. Number 2 is Gawker. Founded by Nick Denton and Elizabeth Spires, Gawker was a blog which reported on the lives of celebrities. Initially, it covered news in the Manhattan area of New York, but soon expanded its reach and eventually had over 23 million visitors every month. And that was as recent as 2015. So you might be saying, but man, what happened? Well, a series of problems soon sank this once popular website. There was a number of allegations of copyright abuse and quoting sources that were supposed to be off the record. But that wasn't even the worst part. The killer blow was actually landed by Hulk Hogan. And no, this is not a joke. He sued Gawker for publicizing video footage of the Hulkster having sex. Oh yeah, but to give you the pile driver, brother, what you gonna do? He was awarded $140 million in damages, and on June 10th of 2016, as a result of this, Gawker had to announce bankruptcy. And number 1 is MySpace. Who remembers MySpace? This is good memories. Perhaps not quite dead as of 2018, but MySpace has been on life support for a long time. We really should just pull the plug and put it out of its misery. Well, even if the website isn't dead, the original intention of it is now lying 6 feet under. MySpace was a social networking site which was a precursor to Facebook. You could post your profile, and MySpace even provided your first friend request, Tom. Tom was the co-founder of the site and obviously very lonely. Between 2004 and 2010, it was easily the largest social networking site in the world. But by the time 2008 came along, MySpace's sun was beginning to set. Yeah, as you would imagine, that pesky Facebook came along and revolutionized social media forever. MySpace seemed really outdated by comparison. Since then, MySpace has moved towards being a platform for artists and musicians to build a following and still amasses 50 million visits a month. But let's be honest, it's on its way out. Plus, you can't friend Tom anymore. I miss Tom. Number 1 is Kirby 64's post-nuclear war Earth. Aw, cute little Kirby. Who wouldn't love a little pink marshmallow friend who could swallow anyone that they want whole? And maybe you could have one if you could survive a nuclear war, of course. The Kirby games were designed to be joyous and fun, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't tell a dark story. In Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, you get to control the little hungry blob as he moves along a level called the Shiver Star, which looks exactly like Earth, only completely covered in ice and full of automated robots that the now dead human race left to run the factories. Thus, the theory is, after a massive world war in which humans fought the machines, a nuclear winter blanketed the planet and killed everyone. But many animals survived and evolved from the radiation into Kirby's enemies. In fact, at one point in a level, animals suspended in preservation tubes can be seen, showing that humans had intended to use their DNA to save species from being wiped out. Unfortunately, Kirby has entered the equation, and it tends to hop around and consume whatever's left behind. He's literally eating our legacy. Number 2 is every Legend of Zelda game is one story being retold. Have you ever played a game of telephone? You know, where you whisper a message to someone and then they whisper it to someone, and on until eventually you hear it back and it's something completely different? Well, one theory suggests that's basically how the Legend of Zelda games work. The theory says that every game from the original Legend of Zelda to Breath of the Wild is all one story, being told to different generations in different cultures. Every one of them revolves around a young sword and shield toting boy in green, venturing far and wide in a quest to defeat the evil that plagues the land. Though many of the stories are obviously told with more detail, the main points remain constant enough that, told in their simplicity, each story sounds very familiar. And there's an evolved version of this theory that says that Super Mario Bros. Is actually the same story, only with brothers fighting the monsters instead of a single boy. Zelda and Mario Bros. Are the same people? What's happening? Number 3 is Donkey Kong Country is anti-American propaganda. This theory suggests that Donkey Kong Country is chock full of anti-American disinformation created by designers upset with America over the Banana Wars, which took place in the early 1900s. Controversially, during that time, the US military helped the United Fruit Company to absorb and overthrow rival companies in the Caribbean and Central America. Basically, the theory suggests that Donkey Kong's country is actually a Caribbean state like Nicaragua or Honduras, who are being invaded for their bananas. Crocodiles, the main enemies in the game, don't eat bananas, so they must be stealing them for another purpose, such as gaining a monopoly. Many of them are found to be wearing old American military uniforms, and near the end of the game, you battle King K. Rool, the leader of the crocodiles, who resembles Teddy Roosevelt, who was president during the Banana Wars. Okay, speaking of bananas, this whole thing is bananas. Losing it already. Number 4 is there's a body in your trunk in Silent Hill 2. In Silent Hill 2, you play as James as he deals with the horrible creatures roaming around a dark town. Now, spoiler alert, what you come to realize is that our hero pretty much deserves what's happening to him based on the fact that he murdered his wife. More specifically, he murdered his sick, dying wife because she was kind of a burden on his life. Out of the game's 6 possible endings, the one that is considered to be the official ending is called In the Water. In this ending, James commits suicide by driving his car into a lake after witnessing an illusion of his wife dying in her sickbed. However, many fans of the game have theorized that James's wife's corpse was actually in the trunk of the car, and when he says out loud, "Now we can be together," he means it literally. After the scene where his wife passes away, he gently picks her up and carries her out of the room before things fade to black, hinting that her next destination may be in the car with James. The whole idea is that he's been repressing what he did, and the ghosts make him aware of it, along with where his wife is now, in the trunk. Number 5 is the Madden curse. This theory leaves the video game world a bit and incorporates digital characters as well as their ill-fated real-world counterparts. The Madden curse is a legend within both the gaming and football-loving communities. Basically, any NFL player who's featured on the cover of that year's Madden NFL video game is cursed to suffer an injury. It started with San Francisco 49ers running back Garrison Hurst, who graced the cover of Madden NFL 99. Shortly afterwards, Hurst broke his ankle during a game. But that's not all. Since then, of the 18 players featured on the cover, 16 have had their seasons abruptly cut short due to an injury. Many of these injuries caused players serious issues and negatively impacted their performance for the rest of their careers. And some of these injuries occurred merely days after the game became available. The only players seemingly unaffected by the curse were Calvin Johnson on Madden NFL 13 and Odell Beckham Jr. on Madden NFL 16. Good luck to them both. Number 6 is you play as the villain in Limbo. Released by the independent studio Playdead on July 21st, 2010, Limbo seems like something out of a child's nightmare. You play as a nameless boy looking for his sister as he moves along a terrifying black and white landscape while monstrous enemies and deadly traps try to stop him. While the most popular theory suggests that the boy is literally in purgatory or limbo, another theory adds to this idea, as many believe that the boy is actually the villain and suggest that he actually murdered his sister and that's why his purgatory is so scary. To prove it, every other child that you run into in the game runs upon sight of you. Some of them even throw spears to defend against your push into their fortress grounds. Other areas see you kill monsters in unexpectedly gruesome ways, like tearing off limbs one at a time. Some people believe that this is the boy lashing out after what he did to cause his own sisters and maybe even his own death. Number 7 is Saddam Hussein bought all the PS2s. Okay, this one might sound crazy, but follow me. In December of 2000, millions of people were trying to get their hands on the PlayStation 2 console, and most of them were out of luck. This theory claims that that bad luck is actually due to the now deceased Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein, who attempted to buy as many as possible so that he could, get this, take over the world. When the United Nations placed sanctions on any computer technology being sent to Iraq, they forgot to include Sony's PlayStation 2 on the banned list. It was suggested that through the use of thousands of PS2s, Saddam was going to create a super weapon that could control vehicles and operate weapons with systems that could only run on superior technology to what they already had. The theory also suggests that the processing power of 12 to 15 networked PlayStations may actually be enough to handle powering an unmanned aerial vehicle or UAV. As if that wasn't enough, another use of a supercomputer made from PS2s would be to handle distance calculations for long-range nuclear missiles. Of course, as his regime fell, no PlayStation military supercomputer was there to defend him, yet the rumors still live on. Number 8 is Aerith wasn't supposed to die in Final Fantasy VII. In Final Fantasy VII, one of the most famous and absorbing video games of our time, you encounter a character named Aerith who, sadly, dies during the game. A popular theory states that she was never supposed to be killed, and her death was a last-minute add-on by designers. Part of the evidence sits in the instruction booklet itself, with images of Aerith in a scene that never made it to the actual game. Additionally, her absence is pretty noticeable all over the game itself, with one character mentioning that she would come back, and an empty section where she would have been standing during the game's finale. As the main character Cloud, a large section of the game is devoted to making a choice between showing affection towards either Aerith or his childhood friend Tifa. Once Aerith dies, the implications of these choices are never shown, and the whole matter is dropped pretty fast by the characters. No matter what decisions that the player makes, she inevitably dies at the hands of the villain Sephiroth. Number 9 is Max Payne Sees Ghosts. In the game Max Payne, you control the title protagonist Max, an ex-NYPD officer who is constantly tormented by the memory of his murdered wife and baby daughter. In Max Payne 3, Max essentially becomes a drug-addicted vigilante on a killing spree in Sao Paulo, Brazil. During the campaign, however, he encounters Anders Detling, another ex-cop, multiple times. Detling gives him clues about his mission, but one theory says that this cop isn't real at all, but is a hallucination that Max is having due to his dependence on alcohol and painkillers. The idea becomes even more believable when you factor in that Anders has the life that Max could have had, having settled down with a family, not fighting to survive. Anders also mentions having a daughter that would have been the same age as Max's daughter had his not been murdered years ago. In addition, Anders also seems pretty out of place in some of the game's locations that he's in, and it seems especially surprising that each time it's during a major game event. Also, at one point during a shootout, Anders hides in a toilet stall only to vanish into thin air when Max opens the stall door. And number 10 is the Nintendo Universe. Okay, this one's the motherlode. There is a world-changing, mind-bending theory that claims that the entire Nintendo library of original games is all in one universe. Okay, follow me on this one. It says that Hylia, the goddess from the Zelda games, along with Furore, Din, and Nehru, created the universe, complete with Pokemon, who would evolve into the creatures in the Animal Crossing series, Earthbound, and Fossil Fighters, just to name a few. Eventually, the creatures move to space, and we get titles such as Star Fox and Metroid. And eventually, this all ultimately leads to Earth's demise in an apocalyptic war involving aliens and demons, such as in the Kid Icarus games. During the fallout, brothers Mario and Luigi fall down a pipe from our world and end up in the sewers from the original Mario Bros. Game with mutated animals coming out of the pipes. A nuclear winter then takes over the planet, and that's where we get the Kirby series as we originally discussed in number 1 on this list. What? Damn Nintendo, that's one crazy plot. Just childhood ruined, I can't. Number 1 is Super Mario Bros. Is a play. This theory says that Super Mario Bros. 3 was all a stage play and that we're the audience. At the beginning of the game, the red curtains open, then during multiple levels, blocks appear to be bolted to a backdrop, and then at the end of every level, Mario exits stage right. This suggests that Mario and his friends are just actors, which makes a lot of sense considering the lack of continuity between games and the fact that there's a Lakitu that follows you around with a camera during Super Mario 64 and every version of Mario Kart. Wait a minute, if Super Mario was all an act, then did I ever really play it? In which case, was my childhood even real? Mama! Sorry, I almost broke my brain there.
I'm okay, let's continue. Number 2 is Earthbound's final boss is a fetus. At the end of the game Earthbound, there's a very memorable boss battle that's extremely bizarre. The theory is that the final boss Gygus is actually a fetus, and since you have to kill him, well, you can kind of put 2 and 2 together about what's going on here. Unfortunately, this makes a lot of sense, because in order to face him, you have to go back in time to his most vulnerable form, and then in order to get to him, you have to go through an opening that looks like a cervix. As if that wasn't disturbing enough, once you're through, you see this. Can you see it? I'll give you a second. How about now? Yeah. Now, believe it or not, there's actually an even darker theory out there about how the fetus got there in the first place, but I'm not getting into that in this video. Now, excuse me while I call my therapist. Number 3 is Metal Gear Solid is just a training simulation. Metal Gear Solid 3 is a popular game that follows the hero Solid Snake into various stealth adventures, except according to this theory, it was all just a training simulation. The idea is that anytime you screw something up in the game or simulation, it ends and you are yanked out of it only to try all over again. There's various pieces of evidence to support this, including at the beginning of the game when one of the characters mishears some dialogue and asks, "Virtual mission?" I think it's funny that some gamers are actually against this theory, like they're angry that if it turned out to be a simulation that all their hard work to save the world was for nothing. Sorry to tell you, Chief, but it's a video game. They're sort of all simulations. Number 4 is Nazism in The Legend of Zelda. In The Legend of Zelda for NES, there's multiple dungeons with various shapes, such as a lion, an eagle, a snake, and a swastika. Yep. Childhood ruined. This theory's been under a lot of debate for a while for 2 important reasons. One is that the shape is not tilted like a Nazi swastika, and the second is that it matches a manji, which is the Japanese symbol for good fortune. But even if this is a manji, it's usually a good idea as a company to steer away from anything that might even be misinterpreted as Nazism. You know, just as a general good rule of practice. Number 5 is the hero in Mass Effect 3 is possessed. The idea behind this theory is that the hero of the game, Shepard, that's been fighting the aliens was actually being possessed by them all along. This theory is based on a couple things. The first is that the longer that you're around the aliens in the game, the more likely you are to be possessed by them, and Shepard was around them for 3 games. The second is that during the game he gets blasted by Reaper energy, which suddenly makes some of the rules and visuals of the game change. There's even a 2-hour fan-made video on YouTube that picks apart every clue to support this theory, which is awesome, except being possessed? Come on, that's a little far-fetched. So far-fetched. Number 6 is that in Final Fantasy VIII, Squall is dead. This fan theory says that in the game Final Fantasy VIII, the main character Squall is actually dead. The idea came from the end of disc 1 of the game when Squall is impaled with an ice shard while fighting a boss and everything fades to black. Some players believe he's dead because at the beginning of the next disc, or the second half of the game, he mysteriously wakes up without any injury. There's also alternative theories out there, one of them being that he's actually in a playable coma. Speaking of playable coma, I can't play games like this because I'm a completionist and I would end up vegetating on the couch for the 90 hours that it takes to find everything in this game. Same thing happened during Super Metroid. It's kind of a problem. Number 7 is the Great Pokemon War. This theory says that there was a great war in which a lot of people died and you get to play as Ash, one of the survivors. It actually kind of makes sense. Ash's father isn't around because he died in the war, his rival Gary is an orphan for the same reason, and there's training centers and hospitals everywhere. And at one point during the game, Lieutenant Surge tells you that an electric Pokemon saved his life during the war. Now, as convincing as this one is, I don't buy it. Mostly because a war? They're Pokemon. How dangerous can they be? I mean, half of them look like a damn marshmallow and the most harmful thing they can do is burp or fart at you. Number 8 is Fallout 3 predicts the future. This theory is about how in the 3rd installment of the Fallout game series, there's a radio that was able to predict the future with eerie accuracy. It says that if you kill a certain DJ in the game, there's a radio station that will begin broadcasting from the radio various strings of numbers and Morse code. The creepy part is that apparently the radio was able to accurately predict the death of actor Gary Coleman as well as the exact date of the BP oil spill. Now, some people believe this to be a hoax, and I should say so. I mean, nobody can predict the future. Look at my parents. They always said I would grow up to do great things. And now I make videos on YouTube. So, yeah. Number 9 is Majora's Mask represents the 5 stages of grief. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is about how Link loses his fairy friend Navi and he goes looking for her. The theory is that the whole game takes place within Link's mind after he gets knocked out at the beginning of the game, and that everything that happens is based on the 5 stages of grief. Interestingly, not only are all 5 stages represented within the storyline, but they occur in the exact same sequence as real life. denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Honestly, I think this theory is brilliant, especially since the full explanation online makes even more sense. The only problem is I was never able to play it, mostly because I was freaked the f out by the face on the moon in the game. Look at that! Who designed this game? Freddy Krueger? And number 10, Animal Crossing is about a child abducting cult. If you've never heard of this game, that's okay, I didn't either. And I kinda wish I hadn't. This game is about a kid that moves into a village full of talking animals and has to work off his debt by doing chores for them. The theory is that the animals actually abducted the kid and are making him their slave. Disturbingly, this bizarro theory actually makes sense for a couple reasons. The first is that the animals never let the kid leave the city, and the second is that you're perpetually in debt because even when you pay it off, they just up it again. Did I mention that the game has no overall objectives or missions? Yeah, weird. I suggest if you don't want to teach your kid about cult activity, you don't let him play this game. Unless, of course, you're a Scientologist, in which case it's par for the course.
Number 1 is Zombie Nation. First released in Japan for the NES in 1990, Zombie Nation tells the tale of an alien meteor that crashes in Nevada and changes every single American into zombies. Of course, the world's only hope is you, a floating spectral head of a samurai warrior named Namakubi. Yep. You play as a disembodied head that flies around destroying your enemies with rapid-fire eyeballs and projectile vomit, all while trying to catch innocent victims who fall from the damaged buildings. Oh, but it gets so much weirder because one of the bosses is the evil, possessed Statue of Liberty. Nicely done, Japan. You completely took the premise of Ghostbusters 2 and made it into a video game. More or less. Weird. Number 2 is the Home Improvement game. As awesome as the 90s show Home Improvement was, the same definitely could not be said about the video game that was based loosely, and I do mean loosely, off of the show. Released in 1994 on the SNES, Home Improvement Power Tool Pursuit confused children everywhere who expected it to be like the TV show. You play as Tim the Toolman Taylor as he tries to save his brand new line of power tools from robots, dinosaurs, and acid-spitting mummies. He does this using different power tools like energy wave-throwing chainsaws. Yep. But the best part of the game? Its ability to force manliness on you. No, seriously. There are literally no instructions for the game. The only words that are included are, real men don't need instructions. Could you imagine if this game was released in 2016? Tumblr would explode. Number 3 is Manhunt. Known as one of the most disturbing games ever made, Manhunt was created by Rockstar Games in 2003 and has been the subject of, a bit of controversy. You play as James Earl Cash, a death row inmate who must navigate an abandoned city, stealthily slaughtering gang members and citizens in creative, gory ways in order to obtain freedom from the director. And the more brutal the execution of your victims, the more points the director grants you and the more disturbing the cutscenes are. You know, as you get to watch the agonizing murder unfold from a third-person perspective. Fun for the whole family! The brutal depiction of violence is only offset by how cute one of the schizophrenic gang leaders looks in his bunny costume. Oh, so cute! Hippity hop, I'm going to stab you, hippity hop. Number 4 is Socks the Cat Rocks the Hill. Why does this exist? Picture this, someone's out to steal the launch codes for America's arsenal of warheads. So they've brought in the most likely hero, President Bill Clinton's, cat. Named Socks. Developed in 1993 for the SNES, Socks the Cat Rocks the Hill received such horrible test reviews that it was never officially released to the public. In the game, you play as the title feline as he tries to avoid spies and politicians sent by ex-American presidents who, for some reason, want control of the nukes. As bizarre as it is incredibly controversial, there's no wonder this game never made it to market. Okay, let's not pretend like you don't want to play as a president's cat who is somehow smart enough to use its paws, meow, to stop nuclear warheads. Just don't be lying to me, man. I see you behind your tablet or phone or computer screen just wanting to be a kitty. Number 5 is Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. Moonwalker was released for multiple platforms in 1989 and told the story of Michael Jackson's quest to save a bunch of children from an evil drug dealer by using his greatest weapon, Dance! Using his magical dance abilities, Michael can attack the villain Mr. Big's horde of thugs by high-kicking them, hurling his hat, or, physically forcing them to dance until they die. But hey, let's add to the absurdity by including his pet chimp Bubbles. He appears as a power-up and can transform the King of Pop into a laser-shooting robot. I'm not making this up. The final level of the Sega Genesis version finds Michael transformed into a spaceship and shooting it out with Mr. Big's ship, because science. Wow, I got through all of that without a single Michael Jackson joke. That's a first on my channel. Number 6 is Darkseid. Darkseid is a point-and-click horror adventure that was released for several systems around 1992. You control the actions of a regular guy named Mike Dawson as he experiences horrifying nightmares, discovers an alien in his brain, and crosses into a visually unnerving alternate reality. But where the game gets truly disturbing is in its use of impending doom implanted in the player. Many actions in Darkseid must be completed within a very tight time limit and without checkpoints, which means that failure to succeed results in having to start the whole game over again. This in turn gives you an escalated feeling of dread the further you get into the story. This very much sounds like a rage-inducing game. Could you only imagine getting to the end and being like, I'm about to beat it, and then you die, and then you freak out and you smash the controller and the system, and then you don't have a system anymore. So yeah, that's why this game wasn't very popular. Number 7 is Seaman. Seaman. Seaman is a virtual pet simulator developed by Sega's Dreamcast console in 1999. The objective is to raise a talking fishman hybrid. Oh, but it gets better. Narrated by the late Leonard Nimoy, Seaman requires you to give your pet constant reassurance using the included microphone, or else it will die. Just like a real-life fishman hybrid. Of course, reassurance is right up there with oxygen, and the constant need to lecture people on the proper use of nose hair trimming in relation to making popcorn. Did that not make sense? Neither does this game. In the end, your pet can evolve into a number of forms including Frogman, Podfish, and Gillman, which all sound like the names of heroes Aquaman rejected in the search of his new sidekick. Fishman, na 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 na, Fishman. What? Number 8 is Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors Desert Bus. Developed in 1995 for Sega CD but never officially released, Smoke and Mirrors consisted of several mini-games on one cartridge. Among these strange mini-games was a game called Desert Bus, where you have to drive a bus with no passengers at a maximum speed of 72 kilometers an hour. There isn't even traffic. Sometimes there's the occasional sign or rock, and the straight road requires almost no interaction, and you can play it for up to 8 hours. Just that, without the ability to pause. Yeah, that's why it got scrapped. Number 9 is Shaq Fu. When an evil mummy kidnaps a child and whisks him away to a fortress in an alternate universe, there's only one thing to do: convince a famous NBA player to go after them. Duh. Released for the SNES and Sega Genesis in 1994, you play as Shaq, who, on his way to a charity basketball tournament in Japan, ends up being tricked into entering a portal where it suddenly becomes a Mortal Kombat style fighting game. You know, just the average day for Shaq. You, as Shaq, beat up a bunch of possessed heroes and children. This game is so bad that there are actually 2 online communities devoted to it. One wishes to erase every single cartridge of Shaq Fu from existence, while the other managed to get a sequel crowd-funded in order to spread the evil even further. The internet is a weird place. And number 10 is Baby's Day Out. You know, before the GTAs and Call of Duties or even the Halos of the world, was a video game so exciting that it felt like the world around you was moving at a crawl. Mostly because it was. Another bizarre game to be rightfully cancelled just a day before its release, Baby's Day Out was developed in 1994 for Sega Genesis and had you play as some kind of ghostly guardian angel thing. You fly around as you lure a crawling baby named Bink through each level by baiting it through obstacles, opening gates for it, and letting it fall off of high ledges. I just don't know what to say about this one. A good starter game for parents everywhere. Okay. Number 10 is Shinobi 3D. Unlike its predecessors, the original Shinobi games that were produced for arcades, home computers, and eventually early home gaming systems, Shinobi 3D threw out side-scrolling and fell in line with the growing trend of 3D combat games. Released by Sega for the PlayStation 2 on November 10th, 2002, this game delivered incredibly challenging levels with tough enemies, but what made it truly hard was the fact that instead of being a silent and stealthy ninja, you had to race through your foes as quickly as possible. If you didn't continually recharge your sword with the souls of your enemies, you'd start dealing damage to yourself. This had many gamers repeating levels dozens and dozens of times, only to lose again to deadly villains, bottomless pits, or their own waiting. Number 9 is Super Meat Boy. Super Meat Boy? They named a game Super Meat Boy? Okay. Initially released for Xbox 360 and Windows in late 2010, Super Meat Boy is now available for PlayStation 4, Wii U, Nintendo Switch, as well as other platforms due to the critical acclaim that it received. The brainchild of Team Meat, this game actually won IGN's Most Challenging Game Award in 2010. The gameplay demands that you race as fast as you can through obstacles, most of which will kill you, which leads to many pressings of the reset button. I almost got it. I almost got it. I'm gonna lose my mind. Aware of the challenge that their game possesses, the designers made sure that resetting the game only takes seconds, which means little downtime between attempts, which keeps players fixed on getting past the buzzsaws and enemies that keep cutting them into tiny little bloody pieces. Number 8 is Mega Man 9. Considered some of the most challenging side-scrolling games that Capcom ever released, the Mega Man series was a huge hit with gamers. So much so that a throwback to the first sequel, 1988's Mega Man 2, was created for modern systems. Complete with 8-bit graphics and retro sounds, Mega Man 9 was unleashed on the world through Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and the Wii in September of 2008. But while many felt the nostalgia of playing a familiar game, they also were met with a very tricky and often frustrating series of levels. Enemies popping out of holes, flying in quickly from off screen, or falling from above taunt you as the player, often suddenly grabbing you and hurling you towards pits or spikes. I've always loved the Mega Man series, but I do remember this game and it just makes me I think it just felt some more hair fall out. Number 7 is I Wanna Be the Guy. Designed and developed by Michael O'Reilly, I Wanna Be the Guy is a parody freeware game for Windows that steals a number of elements from beloved games such as Super Mario, Mega Man, and The Legend of Zelda, as well as Tetris and many more, combining them into a single game that's terribly difficult. Though it never officially left beta testing, it still developed a cult following, with some playing just to see how many Easter eggs that they could spot. Most of the elements visible in the game are specifically there to defeat the player, making it necessary to play the same stages over and over and over and over. It's been deemed impossible to beat without previous knowledge of levels, as there are sudden traps that come without warning, meaning you'd have to already been killed by them previously to know they're there. I'm not gonna lie, this is actually a game I've never heard of, so as soon as I'm done this, I'm actually gonna go download it so that I can stress myself out, I guess. Sounds fun. Number 6 is Contra. Released on February 20th, 1987 as an arcade game, and later for a variety of other platforms, Contra, or Geisar as it's called in Europe and Oceania markets, is a side-scrolling run-and-gun style game that was developed by Konami. As the player, you take on large, seemingly endless hordes of attacking aliens and very hard-to-kill bosses, any one of which can kill you with a single hit. Oh yes, I remember this game. It's just infuriating. You're also forced to navigate around deadly obstacles and make it to the end of each stage before your timer runs out. So you're literally racing through dozens upon dozens of enemies as fast as possible, dying often. Contra was actually the first game to ever include the Konami code, the famous sequence of up up, down down, left right, BA, granting the player 30 lives. But even with all those lives, it was almost impossible to beat. You ever play it? You know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm dead. Number 5 is the Silver Surfer. Developed by Software Creations and released in November of 1990 for the Nintendo Entertainment System, this shoot-'em-up game is considered by many to be a prime example of poor game design. The game is auto-scroller, and if your board touches anything, including walls, enemies, or tiny projectiles that have been launched at you, you instantly lose. To make matters worse, many stages force you to navigate angled paths with a board that's always facing the same direction and is way too long, meaning you've got to be a pro at the game and extremely patient to ever see how it ends. Like I said, I played this as a kid and I remember how fun it was at first and then immediately basically almost cracking the game in half. So yeah. Number 4 is Ghosts and Goblins. Vastly considered by players and gaming magazines to be easily one of the most difficult games to ever torture players, Ghosts and Goblins definitely saw its fair share of smashed televisions with controllers sticking out of them. I can't beat it! Released in 1985 as an arcade game before being developed in 1986 for the original NES and Commodore 64, Ghosts and Goblins was extremely challenging, burdening players with items that they didn't want, and if they got hit just twice, you die. But what really had players furious was the fact that after hours and hours of agonizing attempts to reach the end of the game, you find out you're in a trap and the princess you're after isn't there at all. Oh yeah, sorry, spoiler alert, you know, in case you were gonna play this infuriating game. You're then sent back to the beginning of the game and forced to play the entire thing again with even harder obstacles to overcome to reach the real ending. Number 3 is Ninja Gaiden. Considered a hack-and-slash video game, the reboot of the Ninja Gaiden series brought with it a challenge that many found even more overwhelming than the bloody decapitations and ultra-gross monsters. Released by Team Ninja on March 2nd, 2004 for PlayStation 2 and Xbox, this super violent action game pits players against fast-moving antagonists that dodge almost every attack. If you didn't play the level perfectly, you died. Pretty much one mistake against a monster and you're restarting the level. Though the original release came without the ability to change the difficulty level, a re-release in 2005 called Ninja Gaiden Black allowed the players to take on an easier challenge, which was a welcome enhancement by anyone who actually wanted to see how the damn game ends. Number 2 is Dark Souls 2. When it was first announced at the Spike Video Game Awards on December 7th, 2012, Dark Souls 2 came with a promise from Brian Hong, Global Director Manager at Namco Bandai Games America, that it would be viciously hard. And he didn't lie! Though it's definitely a beatable game, the hours and amount of patience needed to get through it are staggering. An open-world action role-playing game, Dark Souls 2 was officially released on March 11th, 2014 for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC. The developers specifically eliminated the ability to choose a difficulty, claiming the insane challenge was essential for the game to be experienced properly. And while the true difficulty is debated, many have given up on Dark Souls 2 not for a lack of good gameplay, but because they simply cannot advance. Sounds like YouTube in 2018. And number 1 is Battletoads. Though it was released way back in June of 1991, Battletoads is still at the top of a large number of gamers' can't beat list. I played this. I'm on that list. The shameless Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ripoff was the brainchild of Tim and Chris Stamper and was developed by their company Rare for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Battletoads falls under the genre of beat-em-up games, giving you control of 3 mutated amphibians who are named after their skin conditions, specifically zits, rash, and pimple. Famous for just how difficult it is to progress even a little bit, every level of this game is said to have been unnecessarily challenging, with some claiming that it was intended to persuade gamers to buy the game instead of renting it. Despite the dozens and dozens or hundreds of attempts it would take to pass certain stages, it has quite the cult following. Number 10 is the Ghost Paper game. The ghost paper game, also known as the Spirit of the Door, allows you to attempt to summon a spirit to your home and ask it 3 questions. There's a very specific ritual to this game that's littered with red flags, each of which result in you needing to evacuate your home immediately or face brutal consequences. At 3 a.m. you light a candle and sit it on one side of a closed door, knocking on it 3 times to welcome the spirit to join you. Next, you write your first question on a piece of paper and slide it under the door and wait. If the paper remains still, the spirit did not join you, but if it's taken to the other side and returned with an answer, you can proceed to ask 2 more questions in the same manner. If anything goes wrong though, make sure you apologize to the spirit and get out while you still can. Number 9 is Charlotte's Web. If you think you're brave enough, enter a dark room with a trusted friend and sit at a table facing a mirror using only flashlights as light. Place a toy as an offering to the spirit of Charlotte on the table in front of you and proclaim, "We want to play Charlotte's Web." Then quietly wait to see if she will answer your summon. Should the spirit of a girl appear and take the toy, all is well, and she'll answer questions for you. But beware, Charlotte has a temper and has been known to attack players if she doesn't like the toy that you offer. She also seems to be very against candles. Legends claim a family member of hers was burned at the stake, and additionally, make sure you never look away from the mirror, as she is known to lash out and attack if she feels as though she's being ignored. Number 8 is Daruma Sand. If you enjoyed playing red light green light as a kid, then perhaps this high stakes version will appeal to you. However, in this version, you summon a spirit of a Japanese woman who met a tragic end after slipping in the bathtub by washing your hair with your eyes closed and repeating Daruma Sand fell down. If done properly, she will appear to you and you will go to bed as normal, for the game begins when you wake up the next morning. For the entire day, you will feel as though you're being followed, and if you look over your right shoulder, you might just see her. She will attempt to catch you, and if she gets too close, you can yell "Tomare" and run away. To end the game, you must see her and yell "Kida," meaning "I cut you loose," and make a chopping motion with your arm before she catches you. Number 7 is the Librarian game. Between midnight and 4 a.m., you may attempt to enter a blood pact with the spirit of the librarian and play a game with a very cool prize: heightened intellectual abilities for the rest of your life. You can choose to play this game with another person, but if you do, then you can never speak to them again after that night. To play, you must sign your name in blood on a page of a book and wait for the spirit to appear to you. When he asks you what the most powerful weapon is, you answer knowledge and stab the book with a knife. You must then burn everything you used in the ritual, as it has become cursed. You must also be warned that now the librarian will follow you forever, making you cast 2 shadows and watching you as you sleep at night until he makes you lose your sanity or your life. Number 6 is the 3 Kings. The ritual of the 3 Kings may give you a chance to gain answers about your past by entering what is known as the shadow side to speak with spirits. To prepare for the game, you must set 3 chairs and 2 mirrors in a room. You then leave, returning to the room at 3:30 a.m. and sitting in one of the chairs, lighting a single candle. Then you wait, staring into the darkest part of the room until you feel a presence there with you. You now have 1 hour to ask the other kings the questions that you have. But beware, should you miss any red flags such as abnormalities in your physical environment, or should you attempt to leave the room and thus the game early, you risk offending the other kings who have joined you, and offending spirits never turns out well. Number 5 is Elevator to Another Dimension. If you have a truly adventurous spirit and enjoy taking in new sights and experiences, then you might be one of the few people willing to take in an elevator to another dimension. In order to do this, you must find a building with at least 10 stories that is empty enough that you will be in an elevator alone as you ride from floors 2, 4, 6, 2, 10, and 5. Then a woman will join you on the 5th floor and will inquire where you're going. You must ignore her or you will not return alive. After she's entered, the elevator will take you to the 10th floor, where it's said that you will enter a parallel world. To leave this world, all you must do is find your way back to the same elevator and repeat the button sequence. Oh, and make sure you don't lose consciousness at any point, or you will remain trapped forever in the other world. Number 4 is the closet game. Many homeowners have a pet, be it a dog, a cat, a fish, or some other companion. But if you're looking for something a bit more exciting, then you can play this terrifying game and trap a demon in your closet forever. In order to summon the demon, you must stand in the closet holding an unlit match and say, "Show me the light or leave me in darkness." As soon as you have uttered these words, it's said that you will hear a faint whisper, at which point you must light the match or else the demon will snatch you from this earth. Once you have survived lighting the match, the demon will remain in your home. You must make sure to never enter the closet with the light on again, and that you must close the door at night or the last thing you will see may be the demon's glowing eyes. Number 3 is Bloody Mary. One of the most famous occult games is Bloody Mary, wherein a player attempts to summon the spirit of Mary to prove their bravery. Summoning her is easy. Simply stand in front of a mirror with a candle as your only light source and repeat her name 3 times before spinning in 3 circles. Mary is said to appear in the mirror with you and will haunt your home forevermore. This game carries many risks, as Mary is said to be a malicious and vengeful spirit and has been reported to leave physical marks on players. She's even attempted to drag players into the mirror with her. It's rumored that some people have been driven to the brink of insanity after witnessing her bloody figure, and others have still dropped dead on the spot. Is it really worth the risk just to prove that you're fearless? That's up to you. Number 2 is Dry Bones. If your friends are terrible at hiding, then maybe you'd rather play hide and seek against a tougher opponent, like a demon. To begin the game, enter your bathroom just after midnight and light a candle with a match while staring into your bathroom mirror. Invite the demon into your home and run as though your life depends on it, which, after all, it very well may. If you want to survive, all you must do is remain hidden until 3 a.m. Once the 3 hours have passed, cautiously make your way to the largest room of your house and banish the demon. If you hear a loud groan, then the demon has left, and you will be rewarded with anything your heart desires. But be warned, should you lose, then the demon gets to do with you whatever they desire, and that can mean an eternity of punishment. And number 1 is the Midnight Man. The Midnight Man is a game so terrifying, it was once used as a pagan punishment for disobeying the gods. This high-stakes game of hide and seek begins by writing your name on a piece of paper and adding a drop of blood to it. Once you extinguish every light in your home, other than a candle, you must knock on a wooden door 22 times, with the 22nd knock occurring at the stroke of midnight. Once the Midnight Man has begun to stalk you, you must avoid him until 3:33 a.m. Did your candle just go out? Did the temperature drop? Are you hearing strange whispers? If so, it means he's close. At this point, you must surround yourself in a salt circle and remain there until the game ends, or else he might just decide to trap you in a world of your worst fears, or simply rip out all of your organs one by one at a time.
Number 1 is Kratos. The character of Kratos was first introduced in 2005 in the game God of War for the PlayStation 2. Since then, the character has been featured in 6 additional games, as well as a God of War comic, and has become a flagship title for the PlayStation. However, what you probably didn't know is that this character is based entirely off of Ed Norton's Nazi character Derek from American History X. How lovely! David Jaffe, Kratos' creator, told his artist to take the look, sense of power, and aggression from Derek the Nazi and turned it into a character that fits the Greek mythology world. So now you know that the buff angry dude with markings on his body that you've been playing as all along is actually based off a buff angry dude with markings on his body that just happens to be super duper racist. You can feel good about that. Number 2 is Sonic the Hedgehog. The iconic character of Sonic the Hedgehog was first introduced in 1991 in the self-titled game by Sega, intended as a mascot to rival Nintendo's flagship character of Mario. Since then, he's been the main protagonist in multiple Sonic games, spin-offs, comics, and 5 animated shows. However, Sonic was inspired by 2 unlikely real-life people, President Bill Clinton and Michael Jackson. According to Sonic's creator, Naoto Oshima, his get-it-done attitude is based off Bill Clinton's demeanor and reputation, and his style and belted boots are based off Michael Jackson in the Bad video. There is no doubt that Sonic's legacy is going to continue to be awesome because the game designers are going to make sure of it. Unlike Bill, who got impeached, and Michael, who... yeah, you know, the kid stuff. Number 3 is Dr. Robotnik. Dr. Evo Eggman Robotnik is the main antagonist from the Sonic the Hedgehog series and has appeared in almost every Sonic game since 1991. Also created by Naoto Oshima, this rotund mad scientist is described as being a certifiable genius with an IQ of 300. He was designed to represent machinery in development to play on the then growing debate between developers and environmentalists. Physically though, he was designed to be easy for children to draw with an overall appearance based on, believe it or not, President Teddy Roosevelt. Everything from the glasses, mustache, and smile were all based on the former president, including certain aspects of his personality. It's important to note that the very first design of Dr. Robotnik had him wearing a bee costume, which of course is unlike President Roosevelt. That we know of. Who knows, he might have been into wearing bee costumes. A lot of weird stuff happens in the Oval Office. Number 4 is Boo. The ghost known as Boo was first introduced in 1988's Super Mario Bros. 3 and was originally known as Boo Diddley, a reference to singer Bo Diddley. Since then, Boo has been a staple in the Mario franchise, usually appearing as an enemy, but occasionally as a playable character in Mario spin-off games, or even sometimes as an ally to Mario. Boo is known for approaching Mario from behind, but immediately freezing and covering their face when looked at, a trait entirely inspired by Super Mario Bros. 3 co-designer Takashi Tezuka's wife. He stated that his wife is generally very quiet, but that one day she exploded out of anger because of how much time he was spending at work, which inspired how Boo still acts in-game to this day. Wow, you know, immortalizing your spouse's propensity to explode out of anger at any given moment into a video game character that's going to be seen by generations to come? That's love. Number 5 is Balrog. Balrog, also known as Mike Bison or M. Bison, is a character from the Street Fighter fighting game series. First introduced in 1991 in Street Fighter 2, he has since been in multiple Street Fighter games and was even in the Street Fighter animated movie. And in case it wasn't overtly obvious, the character of Balrog was based off of boxing champion Mike Tyson. Surprise! In addition to having the name Mike Bison, which is a not so subtle play off the name Mike Tyson, he's an African American boxer with a funky haircut that has similar facial features to that of the real life champ. You know, if they're going to make it that obvious, they should have just gone all the way and given you the ability to gnaw off your opponent's digital ear. I eat his children. Number 6 is Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage is a well-known character from the Mortal Kombat video game series that was first introduced in 1992 in the original Mortal Kombat game. The character is an arrogant and overconfident martial arts actor who provides comic relief for the franchise. And if you couldn't tell, he was created as a parody for none other than martial arts actor Jean-Claude Van Damme. And they do have a lot in common. Johnny and Jean-Claude are both overconfident martial arts actors from Hollywood. Even Johnny Cage's outfit and his legendary splits punch were inspired by Van Damme's performance in the movie Bloodsport. Difference is, Johnny Cage will remain young forever, whereas Jean-Claude Van Damme is getting hella old now. However, Van Damme could still easily turn me into a bald puddle of mush, so you know, I mean no disrespect. I love you. Number 7 is Samus Aran. First introduced in 1986 in the game Metroid for the NES, Samus is an intergalactic bounty hunter with a powered suit and various energy weapons. She's one of the earliest female protagonists in video game history and is one of the most popular characters from Nintendo, maintaining her popularity for over a quarter century since her first appearance. Without her suit, Samus is a tall blonde with long hair that the video game designers decided to model after after actress Kim Basinger. But that's not all. In an interesting twist, her last name Aaron is based off Edson Arantes do Nascimento, the birth name of Brazilian soccer star Pelé. Well, the game designers for Metroid were not only horny nerds, but they were also soccer fans too. Who knew? Number 8 is Lara Croft. Everyone's favorite British archaeologist and adventurer, Lara Croft was first introduced in the 1996 game Tomb Raider. In addition to being presented as beautiful, intelligent, and athletic, the character actually holds 6 Guinness World Records. Among them include being the most famous and most successful female video game character in the world. The company Core Design based her off of 2 people, pop singer Nina Cherry for her style, and the comic book character Tank Girl for her take no prisoners attitude. Of course, part of her popularity is due to Angelina Jolie playing her and being ever so sexy while doing it. But I mean, let's be completely honest, Angelina Jolie could put on a Grimace costume from McDonald's and still be sexy, so yeah. Number 9 is Liu Kang. First introduced in 1992 in the original Mortal Kombat game, Liu Kang is a Shaolin monk who enters the tournament to save Earth. As a staple character in the Mortal Kombat universe, he's been featured as the main protagonist in the Mortal Kombat film and comic book adaptations. Originally, he was supposed to be a bald monk in robes called Minamoto Yoshitsune, but ultimately it was decided to make him resemble Bruce Lee and change his name, and thank God. However, Liu Kang is not the only character influenced by Bruce Lee. Fei Long from Street Fighter, Martial Law from Tekken, and the Pokemon Hitmonlee, all based off of Bruce Lee. I mean, it makes a lot of sense though. You can't really have a fighting game without at least one character based off one of the greatest martial arts fighters of all time. It would be sacrilege. And number 10 is Mario. Mario is one of, if not the most iconic video game character of all time. He was first introduced in the video game Donkey Kong in 1981 for the NES. Since then, he's been in movies, his own animated TV series, and has appeared in over 200 video games, making Mario the best-selling video game franchise of all time. When he was originally created by Shigeru Miyamoto, he lacked a solid name. That was until one day Nintendo of America's warehouse landlord Mario Segale confronted the president of the company demanding back rent. After a heated argument in which Nintendo employees convinced Segale that he would be paid, they opted to name the character in the game after him. Looking back, this may have been the ultimate revenge on the demanding landlord. This is because in an interview, he was once asked what he thought of Mario being named after him, to which he responded, "You might say I'm still waiting for my royalty checks. You got nothing, should have been nicer." And that's all for this time, guys. If you enjoyed this video, you should definitely check out my friends at The Game Theorists. They make videos on everything game related and give not only mind-blowing theories about some of your favorite video games, but also in-depth analysis and explanations about them too that you probably never thought of before. Matt, who runs the channel, is a good friend of mine and I really think you're going to enjoy his content. So if you want to check them out, there will be an annotation on the screen and a link in the description. As always, if you enjoyed this, please give that like button a click, and I will see you all back here on Tuesday with a brand new video. Peace! Well, that kinda hurt. Hey guys, thanks for watching my new video. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to see future videos from me, remember to click that big red subscribe button below, and don't forget to check out my friends at The Game Theorists because trust me, you're just going to love their content. I've been subscribed to them for a while. They are fantastic. And I will see you all back here on Tuesday with another video. Have a great day. Bye. Number 1 is Halo 3. On October 20th, 2007, 16-year-old Daniel Petrick of Wellington, Ohio, shot his mother and father in the head with a handgun that he stole from the family safe. Daniel had been playing a lot of the sci-fi first-person shooter Halo 3, which he had secretly purchased without his father's consent and had been playing almost non-stop up until his mother caught him. Daniel's father punished him by taking the game disc away and placing it in the safe next to his handgun. Daniel stole the key, used it to retrieve the game, and decided to also take the handgun and told his parents to close their eyes because he had a surprise for them. His mother Susan died of a gunshot to the head, but Mark, his father, survived,
only to learn that his son tried to frame him with the murder/suicide. Daniel was caught and given 25 years to life for the crime. Number 2 is Diablo 3. An 18-year-old boy from Taiwan named Chuang died on July 15th, 2012 after he used a private room in an internet cafe to play the popular PC RPG game Diablo 3 for 40 hours straight without eating or resting. He was an avid gamer, and upon release of the third installment of his favorite game, he couldn't get enough. After the marathon, an employee came to check on him and found him asleep in a room. Upon waking up, he stood and walked a few steps before collapsing to the floor from a blood clot that had formed in his leg and then traveled to his heart, killing him where he stood. He was pronounced dead following his arrival at the hospital, all because he couldn't take a break from his favorite game. Number 3 is World of Warcraft. Xiao Yi, a 13-year-old from China, was an avid player of the online massively multiplayer game World of Warcraft. He played Warcraft so often that he found he couldn't bear not to play it for too long. When asked by his parents about his gaming addiction, he claimed to be hopeless and that he could no longer control himself or curb his need to keep playing. His addiction was taking a major toll on his life, with the vast majority of his time being spent staying in internet cafes for days, sometimes without eating. Zhao finally decided that he had enough, and one day jumped off of a 24-floor building to his death. He left a suicide note, disturbingly written as if it were from an actual video game character, stating that he wished to be reunited with 3 of his friends who played the game online in the afterlife. Number 4 is StarCraft. Lee Sung-hop walked into an internet cafe on August 3rd, 2005 in South Korea and started playing StarCraft, a popular real-time strategy game. His gaming session lasted 50 hours, in which time he barely ate or drank anything and would only pause the game to go to the washroom. On August 5th, Lee's friends discovered him in the cafe and made him promise to return home, which he did, but died of heart failure shortly after they left. His death was brought on from extreme exhaustion and dehydration that his body was experiencing. Lee had cared so much about playing StarCraft that he forgot to care about himself or anything in his life for that matter. Previously, Lee had played the game so often that he ruined social relationships and was even let go from his job because he would always arrive late. Lee's story gained worldwide attention, and after that, gaming addiction has become a more serious issue in South Korea ever since. Number 5 are Xbox games. In 2008, in the city of Philadelphia, Tyrone Spellman brutally beat his 17-month-old daughter, Aaliyah Spellman, after she accidentally pulled on the cords to his Xbox console and caused it to fall. He would spend 6 to 7 hours a day playing games on his Xbox, and when Aaliyah caused it to fall and crash, it sent Tyrone into a violent rage. He cracked his daughter's skull multiple times and even threw her across the room. She died from the physical trauma he inflicted while her oblivious mother slept soundly in the room next to them. Tyrone confessed to the crime the next day, but changed his mind and tried to explain that he was confessing to save his wife and that Aaliyah had just fallen off the bed and gotten all of her wounds. He was found guilty of third-degree murder and child endangerment and was sentenced to 47 years behind bars. Number 6 is Legend of Mir 3. In March of 2005, 41-year-old Kui Cheng-wei won a powerful and rare sword called the Dragon Saber online in a game called Legend of Mir 3. He lent the sword to his friend, 26-year-old Zhu Kaohuan, and Zhu unexpectedly sold the sword to another player for $871 in real money, all without Kui's knowledge. He was so outraged when he found out that he went to the police station in Shanghai, only to learn that they could not take any action against Zhu because of the lack of laws protecting the theft of property acquired in online games. When he did not receive his weapon back or any money from the transaction, he went to Zhu's home and broke in while he slept. There, he confronted Zhu, who offered to give him the money, but Kui was focused on revenge instead and stabbed him to death. After 2 hours, he turned himself in and was later given a suspended death sentence, which could amount to him spending the rest of his life in prison. Number 7 are internet cafe games. On January 8th, 2015, a 32-year-old man from Taiwan died in an internet cafe of heart failure caused by extreme exhaustion. The unidentified man was unemployed and had been playing online video games at the cafe for 3 full days, only stopping to sleep with his head on his desk. Of course, marathons are not that rare when it comes to things like charity, where people play for 42 hours straight to raise money, but playing for 72 hours with no break is incredibly dangerous. The cafe staff noticed that he was slumped over on the desk and believed that he was simply sleeping, but they soon realized that he wasn't moving and found he had died earlier that morning. Apparently, the man was well known at the cafe, and his family said that he often wouldn't come home for 2 or even 3 days because he was there playing computer games. It would seem that video game addiction and internet cafes can become a deadly mixture. Number 8 is Lineage 2 Battle Clan. Lineage 2 is an online massively multiplayer fantasy game where players battle each other for valuable items and glory. The rivalry between 2 Russian player clans, the Platinum Clan and the Ku Klux Klan, had been taken to a boiling point when one player was killed unfairly. This led to the dispute spilling out of the world of Lineage and onto the real one. One player from each clan agreed to meet in the city of Ufa, and while there, a real-life brawl broke out, and Albert, a 23-year-old Platinum Clan player, died from his injuries while he was being taken to the hospital. The other player in the fight, a 22-year-old Russian man, was charged with murder soon after the incident. Following the fight and Albert's death, the members of the Ku Klux Klan began to harass his family while they grieved over his loss and even threatened his sister with harm. Number 9 is Berserk. On April 3rd, 1982, 18-year-old Peter Burkowski and his friend walked into a local arcade in Calumet City, Illinois. Peter, a straight-A student in high school, put a quarter into the machine for a game called Berserk. The 1980 Atari arcade game involves controlling a character that runs around a level and shoots enemies while the player tries to avoid their shots. Within less than 30 minutes, Peter had received the top score, entering his initials into the game's leaderboard. However, moving on to the next game, Peter was about to start playing when he instantly dropped dead of a heart attack. The coroner's examination determined that Peter had scar tissue around his heart, and the excitement and stress of playing had caused his weak heart to simply stop. This, of course, was back in the days when games with simplistic two-dimensional characters and early graphical effects were considered to be exhilarating. Unfortunately for Peter, who seemed to have his whole life ahead of him, video games were the unlikely trigger of his early demise. And number 10 is Grand Theft Auto. On June 7th, 2003, 18-year-old Devin Darnell Thompson, also known as Devin Moore, was apprehended on suspicion of having stolen a car in Fayette, Alabama, and was taken to a local police station to be processed. Devin was an avid Grand Theft Auto player and decided one day to act out his in-game fantasy. While at the station, he managed to steal a .45 caliber handgun from an officer and then used it to shoot Officer Arnold Strickland and Officer James Crump and police dispatcher Leslie Mueller, all of whom died. Immediately after the shooting, Devin stole the keys to a police cruiser and fled the scene. He was arrested again the same day, where he confessed, saying that he shot the officers and ran to avoid going to jail. Although Devin pleaded not guilty, he was charged with the 3 murders, and on October 9th, 2005, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection. It was later discovered that before Devin had shot the officers at the station, he was quoted as saying, "Life is a video game. You've got to die sometime."